hammer comes down and beats you over the head for the rest of your life with a big national security stick. And so that people learn to duck their head and not speak up, because bad idea now.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Citizens are advised to take the following steps.
Find us, armoroftruth.net.
In the age of technocracy, scientism, and pop atheism,
Faith is resistance.
Nietzsche, of course, announced the death of God and called for the birth of the Übermensch, the Superman, who would take humanity to new heights and to create a new world order.
Find us at the Armor of Truth YouTube channel.
This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test.
This is not a test. Welcome, my friends, to Armor of Truth Live number 263. You'll bear with me for a minute. I've got a little catastrophe in the background, but everything's going to be okay. Just a moment here. Okay, there we go. I think we've got it now. Nothing too bad. I just had to charge my phone. How about that? Well, folks, it happened. It happened. Aliens. We told you it was going to happen, didn't we? We told you they were going to bring you some evidence. At some point, somebody somewhere was going to present some evidence. And they were going to say, well, it's going to be assumed. It's the real thing, right? It happened today. Alien bodies shown to Congress. Now, is that a clickbait title? No, it's not, because look at this. There it is. 2 non-human alien corpses were unveiled during a public hearing in Mexico's Congress. Oh. Now, don't be thinking that. Don't be thinking like that. You can still take Mexico's Congress seriously, all right? Don't let your thoughts go to, it's just Mexico. They have a real Congress. And today, in their very real Congress, here's what happened. These gentlemen here, Jaime Maussan is one of them. He's a well-known ufologist. Yeah. So he ran this little program here today. They had something like that we had here a couple months ago, where they had a big meeting. They had a big hearing, and they just let it all hang out. We'll talk about that in a minute, but check it out. Here's what happened.
Evolución terrestre, y que después de desaparecer no hay una evolución posterior.
He just said he said something to the effect of these beings don't come from our evolutionary line, is what he was saying. Yeah, I would agree with that. But that doesn't really say anything. You can call something non-human, and that could be. Remember, we talked about this before. They say these spacecraft or these craft were found with non-human biologics in them. That's what David Grush said. That could be a dog. That could be a cricket. We talked about this at one point. I reported here on like how many hundreds of different animals and beings, crickets, or insects that we had sent into space. Dogs, monkeys, cats. So just because they say it's non-human doesn't really mean anything. But what do you think about this? Is this? Are you sold? Are you convinced? Compelling. Come on, guys.
De acuerdo a la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México,
Gotta be real. Look at that thing.
Los análisis de carbono 14, estos seres tienen alrededor de 1000 años de antigüedad. Es decir, no se trata de seres que fueron recuperados en aves, que son estrellamiento plancton que abundaba en aquel tiempo y al desaparecer se fosilizó la evolución.
I hear you folks out there. Be respectful. We're looking at dead bodies in their coffin here. This is so, be respectful, folks. Look, here we go. Here's more. Here's more for you from the Independent. Well, here from the Independent. I don't need their report here, but anyway, I clicked on their picture. There you go. You can see this is clearly proof of alien life, right? They've even got a little thermometer in here. They want to make sure they keep the temperature and the moisture just right, so that these bodies don't decay. Because we got to keep these specimens. All right, so Jaime Maussan. Here's the story. Mexican ufologists, particularly Jaime Maussan, brought in these paper mache, I don't know what these are, to Congress in Mexico today. Mexican politicians were shown 2 mummified corpses that Jaime Maussan said are a clear demonstration of non-human aliens. Here, folks, I think we need to have a visit from this guy. All right? Well, I don't know, folks. The 2 bodies with only 3 fingers on each hand and elongated ET-style heads. Right? And isn't that interesting that they always have to have 2 arms and 2 eyes? And why would we assume that if there were beings from another solar system, just from another planet even, why would we assume that they would be anthropogenic? Is that the right word? No, that means from man. Anthropomorphic. Why would we assume that they would look like us in any way? Why would we assume that they would even have bodies? There you go. So these things, as you saw, they were displayed in these boxes, these caskets. This actually happened yesterday. But a congressional hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena. And, well, unidentified anomalous phenomena. That really implies stuff that's happening in the atmosphere, or I don't really think that applies to, I guess, artifacts or things that you find. Jaime Maussan said these were probably 1,000 years old. They did radiocarbon dating on them. Look, if they were carved out of stone, yeah, you might expect that, right? Anyway, so they also did X-rays. X-rays, and one of them, Jaime Maussan said, was pregnant. Was pregnant. Oh, by the way, yeah, here we go. Men in Black. They had it right all along. There you go. These aliens, they're always trying to smoke in the non-smoking section. Here you go. Here's some close-ups of the alien disclosure that we've now
Encontramos ante
had.
ejemplares no humanos que no tienen relación con ninguna otra especie en nuestro
They're
mundo.
not related to any other species in our world. Agreed. These things they say they were discovered, as you see there, in Peru in 2017. And are 700 to 1,800 years old.
Nos quedamos con reflexiones, con inquietudes y con la ruta de seguir platicando sobre esto.
So that's the idea. What we have to talk about this now, right? We're not alone. They say. We're not alone. Now, Jaime Maussan is a long-time UFO enthusiast, ufologist himself, and so some of the other people that were interviewed about this. One of the enthusiasts told lawmakers, quite a few people showed up to this hearing. Ryan Graves, probably the pilot, the three guys that were at the last hearing. Ryan Graves is one of the Air Force pilots that was there, or Navy pilots that was there. And he was, I had a lot of faith in him. He seemed like, he just saw what he saw and he was reporting what he saw. He's just you could tell he's just about the facts. Here's what I saw, here's what it looked like, these were the conditions, this is how long it lasted. But he ended up showing up to this fiasco here. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe he did. It's entirely possible that Ryan Graves didn't realize they were going to wheel out these abominations. Could be. That's happened before where, somebody who, Richard Dolan is one of those guys who keeps it pretty straightforward. I mean, his worldview it's limited, it's flawed. You can see the holes in it, but I really like his work. I like his work in false flags and dealing with government corruption. But anyway, this is the first time that extraterrestrial life has been presented in such a form. He went on to say, I think there's a clear demonstration that we're dealing with non-human specimens here. It's clear. It's a clear demonstration. Is it? Scientists recently studying the UFO specimens at the Autonomous National University of Mexico were able to extract DNA evidence from the specimens using radiocarbon dating. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about all that. Jose de Jesus Zalce Benitez, director of the Scientific Institute for Health of the Mexican Navy, also said that X-rays, 3D reconstruction, and DNA analysis have been carried out on the remains. He says, I can confirm that these bodies have no relation to human beings. Okay. Agreed. 2 small non-human corpses. This is in Mexico City. And so these were also presented alongside a slew of other videos of UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena. But the hearing, kind of like what happened in Congress here a few months ago or a few weeks ago, aimed to rule on the phenomenon in the aerial space protection law, which would turn Mexico into the first country in the world to acknowledge the presence of aliens on the planet. Boy, we really don't need any evidence at all, do we, anymore? If this is all you need, Ryan Graves, the executive director of Americans for Safe Aerospace and a former U.S. Navy pilot, told the hearing that UAPs, quote, represent an urgent priority for both aerospace safety and scientific inquiry. Now, let's see, what else do I have here for you on this? Yeah, there's a nice close-up of this. I don't know what this is. But of course, it has to be alien. Because the public has been primed. Our minds have been primed for this for decades now. Hollywood has primed us for this. Science fiction has primed us for this, to assume that these things are always. They must be from Zeta Reticuli. Yeah. This might be the same clip.
Son parte de nuestra evolución terrestre y que después de desaparecer no hay una evolución posterior. De acuerdo a la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, quien realizó los análisis de carbono 14, estos seres tienen alrededor de 1000 años de antigüedad, es decir.
So carbon 14 dating shows that they're around 1,000 years old, he said. That doesn't really tell you anything. What did they actually test? Did they test a part of that, let's just call it a creature for, to be given the benefit of the doubt? Or did they test something that was laying beside the creature? Did they test some... So what they're trying to tell us with that is that we actually found carbon in this. Could have been wood.
No se trata de seres que fueron recuperados.
That the DNA too. That doesn't explain anything. Could have been wood. Could have been some other carbon thing.
En naves que son estrellamientos, sino son seres que estaban sepultados en minas de diatomea. Tierra de diatomea. La diatomea es una alga fosilizada con 17 millones de antigüedad. Es fitoplancton que abundaba en aquel tiempo y al desaparecer se fosilizó.
So as you hear, or if you could read there along with, that wasn't very good, was it? I didn't realize. I thought I had it on the full screen. But all he's really saying there is, he's appealing to evolution, and he's explaining how evolution helps us to understand, the theory of evolution helps us to understand these beings and what we have here, that this represents some kind of, it helps us understand evolution in some way. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'll play just a bit of this. We're 17 minutes in. I don't want to get too bogged down with it, but this hearing that they had, this thing was what? It was, well, almost 4 hours long. It's almost like an Armor of Truth live show in its length. Yeah, so let's see. I'll show you a couple highlights here that I found. Yeah, there's Jaime talking. He's talking everybody up at the beginning. He's just very excited about what they're going to wheel out. I have to say, I don't believe most of the people on the panel here, on the dais, the people that were scheduled to speak here. I'll bet you that Ryan Graves probably didn't realize they were going to wheel out these two corpses today. Yeah, here you go. Here's some. This is pretty interesting. Here, we'll listen to some of their footage. So this would be the Mexican version of the Go Fast and the Tic Tac videos that we've heard so much about since about 2017, I guess, around there.
160 kilómetros de la costa. Recordemos.
334 de velocidad. Es el ángulo del FLIR recto. Exactamente.
Arribita de nosotros está.
Así es.
A las 7, a la misma altura.
Hay unas nubes ahí, se debe de ver. Tiene como a las 7, 8 de la posición. Lo raro es que trae una punta adelante. Un puntito adelante. Ah, cabrón. ¿No está? ¿Acaba otro?
Well, that's a helicopter that comes into the shot there. I've seen these before. These are not new. This one's not. I've seen this one before. That's a regular. That's a plane or a helicopter, something that went behind the cloud, but they're tracking something in here. There they go. There's the lights. Now, admittedly, that's weird. That's a strange sighting. Well, it's gone. There they are. Okay, but why couldn't those just be reflections in the cloud? Or why couldn't they be flares? Because they're shooting this footage from a craft that's moving. Your points of reference are all messed up here, but
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 en la pantalla.
So more than 8. Or at least
¿Están a la
8.
misma altura, Telles?
Afirmativo.
Poquito, arriba.
Well, there you go. There's some evidence of something.
9, 10, 11, contando toda la cola. 2, 4, 6.
So I ask you, is there any reason to assume that that's evidence of extraterrestrials? I mean, well, if you want to believe really bad, if you believe the truth is out there, maybe that's good enough for you. All right, we got another
El
one.
Servicio a la Navegación del Espacio Aéreo Mexicano, el CNEAM, declaró este 7 de septiembre que los objetos luminosos...
So they bring on here Avi Loeb. He's an astronomer from Harvard. He comes on and gives a presentation of, he talks about here, what's it called, Oumuamua? Oumuamua. That's what it is, Oumuamua. Which was something that was apparently out there floating around that they were able to found in 27. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But this is the picture of the thing they said was floating around out there. Just a rock. I don't know. So that's Avi Loeb. He's a true believer. He's a really smart guy, but he is a true believer in the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Now let's see. We have another one that comes up here. Robert Salas. It's not the same guy that we showed before. I'm just curious. Where's Redacted? Maybe they did. Maybe so you guys know. If you guys in the chat, if you watch Redacted, I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if Clayton Morris isn't all over this yet. Right? This is right up his alley. He's got to be showing these two little bodies on his channel, you know, and it's another bombshell, right? Look, here's Ryan Graves. Sadly, we've got the translation going over, so it's hard to listen to him. Basically, he just gives a prepared speech that has a lot to do with his organization, which is really about doing a better job of studying and tracking what's going on in our airspace. Because, you know, he's a pilot and encountered things out there that were dangerous. It could have caused problems. There's no reason to assume that what these people are encountering are anything other than drones or some kind of advanced technology. It doesn't even have to be advanced technology. This could be just this could be old technology. They're just using it in a different way. But it's surveillance. This equipment, see, whenever we have our fighter jets and our aircraft carriers, we have all of our equipment, our resources out in an area, like when all these UFO videos were taken, and you're running exercises. Someone who wants to understand how advanced your equipment is, what they want to do is put something out there so that it will appear on your radar, and so it'll absorb all of the signals that you're putting out. You know, your radars. So they want to know what you're capable of. So they put these things out there. It could be the Chinese, Russians, who knows? It could be anybody. It could be Americans. It could be another black project. Who knows? But it's not alien. Some of the stuff can be explained as could be explained as demonic when you get right down to it. All right, so Graves talks, and then we have what's his name? Yeah, Robert Salas comes up here. He has an interesting story to tell. Yeah, he's talking here about obviously an underground base, but he had an experience where, and there was a couple other folks too, at least one other guy had an experience where they saw a UFO, an unidentified object, interact with, shoot a laser beam or something at a nuclear warhead, in flight. Let's see if we can. Let's see. This is a pretty good story here.
Can you turn the volume up?
Por favor, ¿puedes subir el volumen?
Yeah. So this thing on the left is the nuclear
Vemos lo que está sucediendo
weapon.
a ese punto.
I guess.
Y de repente en este cuadro vemos un objeto
Obviously,
que
it's a
va
recreation.
que va cazando a la misma velocidad. Dispara un rayo de luz.
All right, this reminds me of when India landed on the moon the other day, right?
El objeto
It's
lanza
like this.
otro rayo de luz rodeando. Y después
Now, I don't
va
doubt.
al
I don't have any reason to
mismo
doubt that this guy, he saw this thing happen. Oh, look at that! Amazing. There's an enormous traffic cone floating around in low Earth orbit. Amazing. Did the aliens put that there? Don't be silly, Brad. Yeah. So anyway, this was a pretty interesting. I don't know. Was it really? It really wasn't. It was a lot of the same old stories that we hear, same old UFO stories. There's really nothing new. Yeah, here we go. Here's the moment where they roll out they save the best for last here, the grand finale.
Esta información y permitir a los congresistas ser testigos de estos restos biológicos. Aquí hoy
Here we have.
presentar dos seres.
There they are. Oh, can you imagine? I wonder what Ryan Graves is thinking right now if he's sitting in the room. He's like, oh no, what are they doing? I came here to give my speech, to get funding and get people interested in my new program. We're going to keep the skies safer. And here they come wheeling out these caskets.
Quiero llamar en primer lugar al investigador Joyce Mantilla.
They're very proud of these things. Look at,
van a declararlo aquí. Son seres no humanos.
The unveil.
Que no son parte de nuestra evolución terrestre y que después de desaparecer no hay una evolución posterior.
Yeah, there he's saying it again that these don't come from our evolutionary line. That goes without saying. So anyway, there's the big moment, the big reveal. Oh, they're cute little critters, aren't they? Whatever they are. I don't know, folks. I think the whole UFO thing has the whole movement has jumped the shark at this point. There's just no point to it anymore. Non-human bodies. Says there, large head, hands with 3 digits. That's just saying what we already know. 700 to 1800 years old. So here's another example. So if you're watching this on replay, let us know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think is it a hoax? Is it something? Is it deformed people? What is it? Let us know over here in the live chat too. What you think about this? What do you think's going on here? What's really interesting though, this is pretty interesting. I like this. It was worse to go into this to get to this part of the report tonight. The Pentagon has launched the new one-stop shop website for declassified UFO information, which will include photos and videos. And I just so happened to go and peruse this website today. There you go. Here it is. It's up and ready. The all domain anomaly resolution office. it's supposed to be a repository where it's I guess it's kind of the government version of MUFON. I'll tell you what, I think MUFON has done a fine job of collecting data over the decades. We really don't need this. But I guess, if they have the green to put it together, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about this, honestly. But here you go. They do have some video up here already. Here is a UAP video of a South Asian object. Would you like to take a look? Let's take a look. Wait, what was the date? I want to see the date here. January the 15th of the year 1251. What is that? January 15th of 23. All right, what do we have here? I didn't preview any of these. That's a drone. Okay, so there on the left, that looks like one of our drones, something like a Predator drone or something like that. And then we have this little guy. This little guy flies by. Huh. Interesting. Do you see the artifact? As I move it back and forth, do you see it? It leaves a little artifact on the screen as it goes by. I'm just pointing it out. Do we see that same kind of artifact coming behind the Predator drone? Let's see. Wow, okay. So let's watch. As the Predator drone moves. Wow, this thing, it wants to update every time I move the cursor. Gosh, that's frustrating. Why was it doing that? Maybe I can. Yeah, it's hard to go frame by frame here. There we go. I'm just trying to see if the Predator leaves a artifact like the little UFO does. That way you could tell maybe if it was dropped in. I don't know. The Predator is just not moving enough for me to tell if it, if it left the same kind of artifact as this little deal right here did. It doesn't seem to, but I'm just going to assume that it's real footage of something. So there you go. There's that. So that once again, this kind of footage, I think people are confused a lot of times as to what you're looking at. This is not footage. This is not like someone's got a video camera like we're used to thinking of, like that's taking a picture of this of the sky, and then that's not what this is. This is usually a kind of radar footage, and it's processed through computers. And so you're seeing overlays. On a readout like this, you might see other telemetry data. This is what you see in those other UFO shots. It just doesn't have the other telemetry with it. So what we saw with the Navy pilots, the American pilots, Navy military pilots, everyone assumed that was just like I've got my iPhone or my camcorder, and I just happened to catch something. That's not what that was. That's not what that is. It's a radar image, and it could be sensing heat. It could be sensing any number of things. But it's not just a camera shooting into the ether. So just remember that. That's why we never see any just normal shots of these things. It's always on some kind of a radar or a telemetry image. I don't know what these are. I didn't preview these beforehand, so we'll find out together. This one's a little longer. This one looks like it's a couple minutes. So they're tracking this one for a while. There you can see now you've got a little scope. Yeah, you know, admittedly, that thing moves strangely. This looks like it's probably out over the ocean. Don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have, we don't, I guess, at least in our, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be showing you this. Sorry, guys. I meant to give you the full screen. Let me back it up so you guys can see what we thought. I didn't realize it was still on me. There we go. Yeah, so something there, whatever that is, it's just sort of. Now, see, remember too that this image is being created from a platform that's moving too, from a plane or something else that's moving. This could be coming from a ship. I don't know, but there's more details with these. I mean, these aren't just videos. They do have details up there. You can go there and you can read what the details of these sightings, these anomalies are. So, you know, that movement looks, you know, strange, like we don't have anything that could move that way. But if I was sitting on whatever this platform is and shooting that direction, I could move my camera back and forth and produce that movement too. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying there are always other possibilities. Yeah, so I think this is the one that was it firing something? Doesn't that just look and feel like an Atari video game from the 70s or 80s? Like seems like I should put some music with that. This is some 8-bit music. Interesting, right? Fire away. Oh yeah, this is South Asian object 2. An MQ-9 forward-looking infrared. There you go. That's the word I couldn't come up with earlier. Infrared video sensor. An infrared video sensor. Let me tell you why that's interesting. Why we don't seem to have just standard analog video of these things. We do have some very interesting technology these days, and one of those technologies, we know we've been talking a lot about directed energy weapons lately. One of those directed energy weapons, one type of them, if I'm understanding it correctly, and I might not be, this is not my expertise, but makes it possible to have these to make it look like to radar, to make it look like to an infrared that something's there. You know, kind of like we talk about in the conspiracy community. Project Bluebeam would be, you know, where it would look like a holographic image would be projected in the sky and it would look like something was really there. This is kind of like that, except it's, you know, infrared is not in our visible range. So I'm just offering that because these are infrared cameras. You could be looking right at this with your naked eye and see nothing. So it could be some kind of technology that's made to go there and look like there's something there. All right. Boy, that's some really astute articulations make it look like something's there. Here is the UAP video from, it's called the Middle East Object. This clip was taken by an MQ-9. This is another infrared video sensor in the Middle East. And while AARO assesses the object in the clip is not exhibiting anomalous behavior, the object remains unidentified. You'll find out that's a lot of what you find on here. They'll say that a lot. That it's not exhibiting anomalous behavior, but it's not identified. That's on the one we just saw. They actually said, after analysis of the full motion video, inclusion of additional footage with a longer focal length, and analysis of commercial flight data in the region, AARO assesses that the object is likely a commercial aircraft and that the trailing cavitation is a sensor artifact resulting in video compression. So there we go. I should have read that beforehand, shouldn't I? The one we watched a moment ago. That explains what I was trying to figure out there. Not this one, but the first one. This one here. All right, I'm wasting time. Let's just jump to this one. Here's the Middle East object. So there's some kind of looks like a ball bearing flying around. Like I should have had some music ready for this show, shouldn't I? Yeah, so there, it's just some kind of a silver orb makes an appearance. But my question is, what is this surveillance? What are they surveilling here? I think what's more interesting to me is, where is this camera? Where is this, and what is it looking at? Because there's a few things in here that are redacted. They don't want you to see. This clip was taken by an MQ-9. Again, MQ-9 is the infrared platform. Assesses the object in the clip is not exhibiting anomalous behavior. It remains unidentified. Okay, UAP video. These are the Western U.S. objects. Analysis of the full motion video combined with commercial flight data in the region led AARO to assess that the objects were 3 separate commercial aircraft flying at a great distance from the infrared sensor. The radar tracks for commercial aircraft aligned with the objects, which were only seen as small dots due to their significance. So these are 3 commercial aircraft. Let's just take a look here. Picked up by the infrared sensor. Right, but then you would have the UFO community looking at it and saying, but look, we don't have anything that can move like that. Oh, look, here's the bottom. So this was assessed and found to be commercial aircraft. Pretty interesting. If you didn't know better, you'd think, wow, I've caught something here. It says that radar tracks for commercial aircraft aligned with the objects, which were only seen as small dots due to their significant distance. So the fact that they're at a great distance, and there could have been some movement in the sensor. Here's the DVIDS video. This is an unresolved case. It's called the Navy 2021 Flyby. Video captured by the pilot in the cockpit of a Navy fighter jet demonstrates the typical speed at which military aircraft may approach an unknown object. I remember this one here. Let's look at this. Yeah. All right. Okay, we've got audio this time. Let me bring it down just a tad. All right, it's going to come in fast. There it is. Oh, but gone. Gone. How about that? Well, this website wasn't made for going forward a frame at a time. There you go. That's all you get. Now, folks, that could be a balloon. That could be a Mylar balloon from the Piggly Wiggly. The fact that it's up there, and that, I mean, the plane is obviously going at a high rate of speed. At least a couple hundred miles an hour, probably a lot more. And so when you approach something and pass it at that speed, it looks like it's really moving. So here's some more, something from an F-18 cruise encounter with an unexplained anomalous phenomenon. I think, I don't know, are these the ones we're familiar with? Yeah, this is the FLIR video. We've seen these to death, so we won't look at these again. That's the FLIR. This is the gimbal footage. And here's the go fast. So that's what they have for you there. Some of these are interesting to look at. But there it is, folks. There's the all domain anomaly resolution office. And there's ET. So just to share some of that with you, I thought you might like to see some of that. What we've got for you tonight is just really kind of a news roundup. And so, you know, there's about 45 minutes of aliens. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit also about a couple other things. Biden's impeachment. This is a big deal that's happening now because you can see when something like this happens, you can see the contradictions start to flow. It just makes it a little easier to see who you can trust. So here's Kevin McCarthy, who he's not very popular within his own party now. So if you're curious about the Biden impeachment, I just wanted to lay it out there a little bit and just get the facts so we know what we're dealing with here. And let's let McCarthy explain what's going on. This is a video from yesterday, so they're going to try to give it to Biden good.
You know, the months that we were gone and the weeks, House Republicans have uncovered serious and credible allegations into President Biden's conduct. Taken together, these allegations paint a picture of a culture of corruption. Now, here's what we know so far. Through our investigations, we have found that President Biden did lie to the American people about his own knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. Eyewitnesses have testified that the president joined on multiple phone calls and had multiple interactions. Dinners resulted in cars and millions of dollars into his son's and his son's business partners. We know that bank records show that nearly $20 million in payments were directed to the Biden family members and associates through various shell companies. The Treasury Department alone has more than 150 transactions involving the Biden family and other business associates that were flagged as suspicious activity by U.S. banks. Even a trusted FBI informant has alleged a bribe to the Biden family. Biden used his official office to coordinate with Hunter Biden's business partners about Hunter's role in Burisma, a Ukrainian energy.
So that's really what it's about. It has a lot to do with
Despite
Hunter.
these serious allegations, it appears that the president's family has been offered special treatment by Biden's own administration. Treatment that not otherwise would have received if they were not related to the president. These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption. And they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives. That's why today I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. This logical next step will give our committees the full power to gather all the facts and answers for the American public. That's exactly what we want to know, the answers. I believe the President would want to answer these questions and allegations as well. The American people deserve to know that the public offices are not for sale, and that the federal government is not being used to cover up the actions of a politically associated family. Now, I would encourage the President and his team to fully cooperate with this investigation in the interests of transparency. We are committed to getting the answers for the American public. Nothing more, nothing less. We will go wherever the evidence takes us.
Good luck with that. All right, so that lays it down for you there. That's what they're up to and why. It really has most to do with Hunter Biden, and he was kind of the gopher. He was the kind of the one that was out there doing the deals and setting up meetings with the big guy, Biden. So we'll see what happens with that over the next few weeks. But the reason I wanted to cover this for you is because of this. Is because just immediately, just as soon as McCarthy made this announcement yesterday, the White House sends out a memo to the CIA, Mockingbird, MK Ultra. I can't remember what all he what does he say to the CIA, Mockingbird? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, the CIA, Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media, to please just don't pay attention to anything they're saying about Joe Biden and his family. In fact, please just ramp up scrutiny of the Republicans. So immediately following the news of this, plan to initiate an impeachment proceedings. What they said was they called on the media to cover the process with increased scrutiny because this is all just a bunch of lies. Correspondents from Ian Sams, a special assistant to the president and senior advisor and spokesman for the White House counsel's office, said that in the shifting media climate, quote, process stories that fail to unpack the illegitimacy of the claims on which House Republicans are basing all their actions only serve to generate confusion and put false premises in people's feeds and obscure the truth. Now, if you ask me, you didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. This is why they want to lock down social media so much. It's, not everybody does, but it's that element of our government, of global government, that don't want you to be able to talk about what they're up to. They want to hide what they're doing. And if somebody does, get onto your track, they want to be able to do this. He said it's time for the media to ramp up its scrutiny of House Republicans for opening an impeachment inquiry based on lies. Is it based on lies? Because in this report, or in this memo that goes out, he doesn't empower the media with the truth. He just tells them, don't believe that. He doesn't say, here's what they're going to say, and this is why it's a lie. He just says, scrutinize the Republicans. Actually, they do, at the bottom of this article, we'll see, they do have the memo did come with a 14-page appendix of comprehensive fact-checking on what they call key lies, things that they know the Republicans are going to be talking about. Isn't that interesting? They already know what the issues are because Somebody's guilty. So this is about the business dealings that Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the whole family had. It says the House Oversight Committee said, quote, "These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, corruption, and they warrant further investigation." That was McCarthy. We heard him already. But Sams claimed from the White House says reporting that solely focuses on process rather than substance is woefully inadequate. Right? You don't understand. Yeah, he did this, but you don't really know why he was doing it. He was doing it for a good reason. He was doing it for the greater good. He pointed to some Republican House members who have expressed hesitance regarding an impeachment inquiry into the president. That should set off alarm bells for news organizations. So according to the White House, they say here the press has the responsibility to scrutinize House Republicans' claims related to this impeachment inquiry. Simply relaying what Republicans claim and how the White House responds, he said, quote, "is a disservice to the American people, who relies on the independent press to hold those in power accountable." Really? Give me a break. This guy. So today, the American people depend on this media for their truth-telling. You tell me, does this sound like someone who has the truth on her side? And what's interesting here too is, you're starting to see the left, they're starting to eat their own. Let's see, where's make sure we got audio here. Let's get the best quality. All right, let's see what Corinne does. She goes off on this reporter because you're not supposed to ask questions like this. You're not supposed to dig when it's about Joe Biden. You're not supposed to dig. You're only supposed to dig on Donald Trump or whoever.
Baseless claims. How confident are you that there will be no evidence that incriminates President Biden and Hunter's business dealings as this goes forward?
So let me just give a little bit of a lay down here because I think it's important. Any specifics to the inquiry? Certainly, I want to say this at the top, as I said to Darlene. I'm going to refer you to my colleagues at the counsel's office, but I also want to be clear about a couple of things. I just talked about Bidenomics. I just talked about what the president's going to do tomorrow, really deliver a major speech, something that the American people want to hear about. What are we doing to improve their lives, work on the economy? And these are real issues, real priorities for Americans. And like I said, like lowering costs. But what you see Republicans in Congress, right, they have spent all year investigating the president. That's what they've spent all year doing. And have turned up with no evidence, none, that he did anything wrong. I mean, that is what we've heard over and over again from their almost year-long investigation, and that's because the president didn't do anything wrong. Even House Republicans have said the evidence does not exist. House Republicans have said that. To my friend in the back who just yelled at, which is incredibly inappropriate, but House Republicans have said that it doesn't exist. Their own investigation have actually debunked their ridiculous attacks.
I don't want to harp on this, but I just have to. This happens all the time. This is the White House press secretary. This is the person that they chose to come out and be the face and the voice, the spokesman for the administration to the press. And I can't tell you how many times there's just basic grammar. Basic grammar, you can see it there. I don't need to make too big a deal about it, but you can, if you just line right through it. I wish that wasn't there. Their own investigation have actually debunked their, and I know that by itself doesn't mean anything, but it's constant. It's just amazing at the, just like with Scott Atlas's book talking about the COVID task force and Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, these people were just incapable. They were inept. the whole time I just assumed was surely Dr. Fauci is at least, he's at least a really intelligent man. He's a doctor, right? Turns out no, he's not really all that bright. It's amazing to find all that out, but I guess so. Maybe I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill here. We shouldn't expect. What do you really expect? I guess. So anyway, she gets pretty fired up and ticked off.
The only reason Speaker McCarthy is doing this political stunt, and we have seen it, you all have reported, is because Marjorie Taylor Greene has said she threatened to shut down the government. Can you imagine shutting down the government over a political stunt? And we're talking about vital programs that American families need. And
it's frustrating, right? Because it's all you hear. They're focused on they're trying to focus on this, and the American people need us to be focused on their business, as if they care about you. So there's that. And now we're on to this. Putin. There's a real development going on in between Russia and North Korea right now, which is disturbing. And this comes from sources that are not the mainstream media, and from several different sources. So when you vet something like this, it has the ring of truth to it. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you what Putin said about Elon Musk, and it's pretty interesting too. But let me remind you of this because I forgot to give you this. I forgot to give you this earlier. I want to make sure you have access to this video, because we're talking about the UFO and the alien stuff. I want you to be able to check this video out. I'm going to drop this link in the chat, and I think I'll try to go ahead and put this link in the description under the video as well. This is a video from Justin Peters. It's on Justin Peters' YouTube channel, and it's with Dr. Jason Lisle. And he asks him about the Navy footage. They talk about flat Earth a little, but specifically here, it's the UFO videos. Jason Lisle is let's see here. It's actually his credentials. He's an astrophysicist. So this is his area. I'm going to go ahead and take this link and drop it in the live chat right now. So you guys, if you want to check that out, wait till after this show, if you would. There you go. Where are we? We're at the 1 hour and 3 minute mark in the show, and I just dropped that link in the live chat. So there you go. I'll put it in the description under the video. I don't think our live chat will be running on replay anyway, so I'll make sure to put that in the... I'll do it right now. I'll put it in the description right now while we're waiting here. So it will be under the description of the show. It'll be, there you go. Okay, so it says Dr. Jason Lisle. Debunks UFO footage. There we go. I'm having trouble spelling. Debunks. I can't see. There we go. Okay, there you go. So if you're watching this on replay right now, you can find that link in the description under this video. All right, so there's that. I wanted to make sure you had that. Now, what about these guys? Another point that's interesting when you're talking about Russia and Ukraine, it seems like also that there's so much money flooding into Ukraine from us, from your tax money, your tax dollars. It seems like Biden keeps sending money there, maybe for another reason. You got the impeachment inquiry, the process has started, and It's about that. It's about dealings with corrupt individuals in Ukraine. And it just so happens that Biden is responsible and he keeps suggesting we send more money. Is he sending money over there to keep these deals quiet? Like, if he stopped pouring money into Ukraine, would somebody rat him out over there? Look, I'm not talking about the people that live in Ukraine, but the officials and the businessmen and the criminals there. They're ruthless. These are some ruthless gangsters over there, right up to Zelensky himself. But the total amount of funds allocated by the United States to help Ukraine, $110.97 billion. A letter sent to the White House back in January of this year from a group of Republican senators calculates that out of the there's been more than this now, but out of the 110, let's just call it 111 billion dollars that's been sent to Ukraine, 101 billion has already been spent. So that leaves about 9 billion to play with. It's very possible. I've heard people lay this case out before too, that he's just sending money over there and somehow or another it gets laundered and comes back here to their bank accounts, or maybe that's what it's all about. I don't know. We'll never find out. But according to retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, the only thing America has succeeded in is the destruction of the nation, the Ukrainian nation. In fact, Ukraine will not be able to recover after the end of this conflict. And as we've reported here, in fact, it was Summer's story. She did a good job pulling this out for us. That they don't intend for the nation, for Ukraine to survive this. The point seems to be to reduce the whole thing to rubble, just to let it be destroyed, because it's the Maui model. It doesn't always have to be a fire. It could be a war. They'll blow it to shreds, destroy it, and they'll come back in and build what they want. And what Summer found was evidence, reports that there were plans for Ukraine to be this model smart city. I wonder if I can find that again right quick. Let's see, Ukraine to be I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm trying to... Developing infrastructure, smart cities, and green energy in Ukraine. Look at this, for example. This is sustainable development.
This used to be a city in Ukraine. Marinka is, or was, a city near Donetsk in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. It used to be home to around 10,000 people. It's been contested by Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed paramilitaries since war broke out in the region in 2014. But new photos and footage show that the city has been practically wiped off the map since Russia launched its full invasion of Ukraine last year. The city is completely destroyed, said Artem Schuster, Marinka's police chief. Completely.
So it's hard for us to understand exactly what's going on there. This area has been contested for a long time. Russia seems to think that they have that is a Russian territory. I don't know, but anyway, you can see that it's the Maui model.
Welcome, you're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. Making city life safe and comfortable with the help of cutting-edge technology. This was the aim of the recent Kyiv Smart City Forum, where participants demonstrated and presented their ideas for making life in the Ukrainian capital not only more enjoyable, but to do this in an innovative way. To explain what the city is doing to complete this goal is Yuri Nazarov, the Director of Information and Communication Technologies for the Kyiv City Administration. Hello, and thank you for coming.
Hello.
So my first question is, what is the main aim of the Smart City project? To turn Kyiv into what?
Kyiv Smart City Initiative. This is coordination between civil.
It might be difficult to follow these folks with the accent. Wow, again with the big intros. They could do without that.
You're watching Head to Head on UATV from the Kyiv International Economic Forum. So, our next guest is responsible for managing over $3 billion worth of long-term finance in Ukraine through investments and advisory services. His fund is involved in helping improve the business climate, open up new markets to foreign investors, green energy, and many other areas. We welcome Jason Pelmer. He is the regional manager for Ukraine, Belarus, and Moldova at the International Finance Cooperation. That's the private investment arm of the World Bank. Hi, Jason. Thanks very much for joining us.
Pleased to be here. Thank you.
So before the interview,
that's
one
quite
of the projects that has been quite a success is in the southeastern port of Mariupol, revamping the bus service. But in general, infrastructure is key to your work here in Ukraine. Can you tell me a bit about how the public-private partnership works in terms of infrastructure, what you invest in, and perhaps what you're not so much interested in?
Yeah, so no, thank you for the question. Indeed, infrastructure is key to our IFC strategy in Ukraine. Right now, in order to increase the export competitiveness of the country, we need better infrastructure. And there are different ways of doing that. There's direct investment. So to take, for example,
there's also burn it down, blow it up, and rebuild it the way we want it. There's that model also. I hadn't planned to go in depth on that, so I just wanted to remind you, we've talked about this here before. There were plans from World Economic Forum had discussed it. It was out there that we're just so excited to build back better, right? We're going to build Ukraine back better, with all this new green renewable stuff. So the plan is to make it so bad they can't recover. Now, when you're thinking about Russia and Ukraine, and then Russia's alliances with China and North Korea, as you watch this thing develop over there, or maybe you don't, but if Russia was to realize, if it looked like that they couldn't win, or they were really to get down in a big way there, it would get dangerous, because then you would start hearing more talk, and there has been more talk of this in recent days, over the past couple weeks, of using tactical nukes again there. But things are trending toward a World War III situation over there. For example, they've been trying to cut Russia off from the world. Now, we also know Russia's a member of the BRICS nations now, and while on the one hand, inside the nation, they seem to be following right along with all of the digital currency, all of the model, the globalist model. And Putin, I don't know if was he a young global leader for the West or whatever. He hasn't had kind words for him lately, but he could be playing a role. That could be all just part of the game. But if we are looking at an actual war over there, all we need to have happen right now is for the situation to turn in favor of Ukraine in a big way, that would likely escalate things to all-out war. In fact, I really thought in the first 6 months that Putin would go for the kill shot, but it hasn't. He hasn't so far. Yeah, so by the way, Kim Jong-un is already in, I don't know if he's in Russia. Here's the story. I have to come back to Musk in just a minute, but here it is. This is reported from Rio Novosti agency. Confirms that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has entered Russia on his private train. And he got there early yesterday, the early hours of Tuesday. The Kremlin said that Kim and Putin are expected to meet in an unspecified location in Russia's Far East later this week. Experts have said, that a couple different ones I was able to find online here, have said that Moscow will likely, like if they're going to meet, what does Putin want from North Korea? So far, it's probably artillery shells and anti-tank missiles. Where did North Korea get those? And North Korea wants, in return, they want advanced satellite and nuclear-powered submarine technology in return. So it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing if we see North Korea being empowered in any way. The hermit nation, there's just a dark hole of evil over there. Experts say that it's entirely possible that North Korea has these things that Putin wants. And I'm sure he wouldn't be meeting with Kim Jong-un unless they did have it. But we won't know for sure until you see that stuff start showing up on the battlefield in Ukraine. Then you'll know for sure. Once you see that happen, you know there is an alliance between these two. It's likely that these two will cooperate. Why wouldn't they? Right? It would definitely be to Kim Jong-un's advantage for Putin to cooperate with him. But it doesn't look good for Putin. It makes you think that he's getting a little desperate. But the truly scary moment, the point of all this would be if and when you saw North Korean soldiers fighting with Russia in Ukraine, or anywhere, really. Kim Jong-un has said that he would send 300,000 soldiers to eastern Ukraine to fight. What's interesting about that is they wouldn't be North Korean. They would be most likely Chinese People's Liberation Army elite forces. So, do you catch what's happening here? This is a World War III scenario. If North Korea was to send soldiers, 300,000, right? Russia already has 400,000 soldiers committed there. 400,000. So if you add 300,000 soldiers from North Korea, you've doubled your forces, and you've got not North Korea, but China involved with Russia, fighting there in Europe. That's a World War III scenario. And what's interesting, too, is the United States recently, within the past few days, has tested the Minuteman III, ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. That's the platform on which you put nuclear warheads. Right? And they say they did that to showcase the readiness of the United States nuclear arsenal. You remember back in the 80s and 90s, it was all about disarmament, getting rid of these nuclear weapons. They were supposed to be, they were getting rid of them, decommissioning them and all that. That hasn't happened at all, has it? That was a gag. Officials say that the reason they're doing this is because for us to show our equipment, if you will, that is the best and most effective deterrent to someone attacking us, or keeps people in line when they see we've got this capability. So that's kind of interesting, a little bit scary situation coming out of Russia. a mixture there, an alliance between North Korea and Russia in Ukraine, which would be Russia, Ukraine. Russia, North Korea, and China in alliance there together. There are already other nations there. Why not? Why would they not do that? The United States has sent so much there. In fact, another report was that it's become pretty evident that Ukrainian forces there are really just an extension of NATO, which means they're really just an extension of the United States. So it puts us directly in the conflict. But I wanted to talk to you about this. These guys. This week, or recently, Putin called Elon Musk a distinguished man. In other words, he was complimenting Elon Musk quite a bit. Vladimir Putin was full of praise for Elon Musk on Tuesday, just days after the billionaire, Musk, admitted to thwarting a Ukrainian attack on Russia. According to Walter Isaacson's new biography of Elon Musk, he refused to switch on his Starlink satellite to aid a Ukrainian drone attack on Russian warships in Sevastopol, in occupied Crimea. Here's Musk's response to it, referencing Walter Isaacson's biography. Musk said, if I had agreed to their request, then SpaceX would be explicitly complicit in a major act of war and conflict escalation. And he said there was an emergency request from government authorities to activate Starlink all the way to Sevastopol. The obvious intent being to sink most of the Russian fleet that were at anchor. They weren't even involved in the war. So if I had agreed to their request, then it would have been conflict escalation. It would have been a bad deal. Been an international war crime. But of course, this worked out well for Vladimir Putin. It made it seem like that Musk was willing to support him. So Putin raved about Elon Musk at an event on Tuesday. He called him an outstanding person. Musk denied a Ukrainian request. So again, it was a request from Ukraine, probably from our own government, and he turned it down. But Putin was speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Russia, when he was asked about how successful Musk's company SpaceX had been at launching rockets. Putin said, as far as private business and Elon Musk is concerned, he is undoubtedly an outstanding person. This must be recognized, and I think it is recognized all over the world. He also said he's an active and talented businessman, and he's succeeding a lot, including with the support of the American state. Weird, right? Here's Putin talking.
И делают это на глазах общественности.
What have I done? What have I done? I lost my link. Bear with me for a minute. I wanted to just... It's nothing really all that earth-shattering. It's just Putin talking. Yeah, I've lost it. What a goofball. There you go.
Это преследование Трампа, но это, конечно,
This is where he's talking about Trump. That's the next story here. As he was also, someone also asked him about Trump. So he was at the same meeting here, in the same interview, he's talking about Elon Musk and he was talking about Donald Trump. Putin doesn't usually have a lot of good things to say about the United States, especially in the last few years. He's not a big fan of Joe Biden. Pretty good. Seems to be pretty good pals with Donald Trump, though. So he's speaking out against all the indictments against Donald Trump. I'd be nice to somebody to ask him what he thinks about the impeachment of Biden. It's interesting to hear what he has to say. Not that it means anything, but it's just interesting. So this is what he said about Trump's indictments.
Нас то, что происходит в сегодняшних условиях, на мой взгляд, это хорошо. Почему? Потому что это показывает всю гнилость американской политической системы, которая не может претендовать на то, чтобы учить других демократии. Все, что происходит с Трампом, это преследование по политическим мотивам своего политического конкурента. Вот что это такое. И делается это на глазах общественности США и всего мира. Они просто обнажили свои проблемы внутренние.
Yeah, you know what? Everything he just said there was true. He says, as for the persecution of Trump, for us in the current environment, it's good because it shows the rottenness of the American system. Past 2 shows I've been on here talking about the rottenness of our own system. It's for a very important reason. It's because of the waves of progressivism and liberalism that infected our churches, infected our nation. It's the fact that we've got these 2 constitutions now diverging from one another. You've got the original Constitution of 1788, which is founded on eternal, immutable, universal truths. And then since 1964, you've got this other system of government where ruling by emergency. The idea in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was it's an emergency situation, right? There's there's segregation and there's racial discrimination in Mississippi and Alabama. So they say, American people, you need to give us the power to go down there and stomp that out. We can't just go do it because those people actually voted for what they have there. Their schools to be segregated and all. Whether that's good or not, it was democratically done. So the federal government needed some kind of special power to go in there and shut all that down. Now, while there was some good things that come out of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, for sure, but right, there's always, you want to understand what a group, who they really are. You have to look at who their prophets are, who has produced their dogma. The dogma behind the original Constitution of 1788 was the Bible. It was God's word. It was immutable, transcendent, objective, moral values and duties. That's what the Constitution, the original Constitution, was founded on, right? Inalienable rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or private property. These are rights that you're born with that can't be taken away from you because they're founded on immutable, eternal, universal truths. But authoritarians know good and well you can't have the people, you can't have those kind of people in your nation if you're going to rule and do what you want to do. In fact, you have to have people rejecting absolute truth if you want to have your authoritarian regime. And in fact, I shared it the other night, Barack Obama said in his book, The Audacity of Hope, whatever it is, that the way to get done what we need to get done, the whole point of all this is there can be no absolute truth. That's not the quote, but that's generally the quote. The removal of the concept of absolute truth. And so since then, they needed to have the power to go in and stop. They needed to go in and stamp out racism, stamp out segregation. Obviously, that's a good thing. If that's all it was. It was meant to be done in one specific place, at one specific time, for one specific purpose. We need these emergency powers. Well, from that day, or from that period, from that act onward, we've seen nothing but that kind of rule. Right? It's all about activism now. Whatever the movement is, this is why we see the trans movement being, it's a political issue now. This is why you hear people in the trans movement saying we're being, there's a genocide against trans people, because they have to put out the idea that there's an emergency. Because then you see what happened with Governor Grisham last Friday when she used her emergency powers to violate the civil rights of everybody in Albuquerque. At least everybody in Albuquerque. Everybody in her whole state. That's a product of the fact that there are two separate systems of government at work at the same time. There is the original de jure system. And then there is an illegitimate de facto system running right along beside it. And it just depends on who it is. Governor Grisham, she's appealing to the illegitimate de facto system. That's why she says things like, I need to guarantee everybody's safety. That's not a right. Safety is not a right. But in her system of government, it is. Because if safety is a right, then the government can do whatever it needs to do to keep these people safe and secure, like prisoners. So this is what came out of 1964. Good things for sure. But when you've got corrupt people, what's the old saying that absolute power corrupts? Absolutely. And we see this now. When you the genie doesn't go back in the bottle. When you give this federal government you give them an inch, they take a mile. Right? That's so. What Putin's saying is he's not wrong. America is at this point pretty rotten. Pretty rotten. How can we say we're anything other than that when we have our public school system promoting what they're promoting? With the drag queen story time, with trying to indoctrinate kids into transgender ideology and giving them chemicals and drugs, and it's just insanity. And that's because this new system is not founded on any kind of stable standard. It's not founded on truth. It's the living constitution. It's the idea that morality can evolve. Putin said at an economic forum, he said this at this Eastern Economic Forum meeting, and he said it's a politically motivated persecution of one's competitor, which is, that's true. That's something that you see in banana republics. Communist systems work that way, where they put their political opponents in jail. That's not American. That's not traditional America. That's some other form of government, some other form of tyranny. Putin said he did not expect any change in the U.S. foreign policy stance towards Russia, regardless of whoever would be elected next year. He accused Washington of stoking anti-Russian feelings among ordinary Americans. Seems like I think everything he said is pretty true. I'm not sitting here trying to advocate for Vladimir Putin, because I don't. He's also corrupt. But he didn't lie about America there. And so now we've got this collaboration between Putin and Kim Jong-un. Things are getting weird. We're testing our intercontinental ballistic missiles again. You've got another report that Canada's chief public health officer, Theresa Tam, thinks that now is the time to get your masks ready. Another report, the CIA is accused of bribing analysts to change. Let me copy this. Pull this one up for you. Bribing analysts to change C-19 or the Origins lab leak theory to zoonosis. CDC advisors have recommended updated C-19 jabs for all Americans 6 months of age or older. That's the current. That's where they are today, they've got the CDC advisors have recommended that this be done. Economic Ninja was talking about this today or yesterday, and his information is that's the done deal. I don't know that they're going to require it, but they're going to at least recommend it, that everyone get it. So also, that's getting close to all that I have for you. But this is interesting too, because on Twitter today, I will not comply was trending over on Twitter. Right now, we've got trending on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called. We've got aliens trending as well. But I thought it was interesting that this, for a couple weeks now, do not comply, I will not comply, things like that have been trending over here on Twitter. And now it's trending because they're talking about they're not going to comply with these arbitrary emergency decrees from governors about, firearm restrictions. So it's just interesting to see what the conversations are. I thought this was a good meme. So you're telling me, due to allergies, a chef must know all ingredients of a cupcake before he makes it and gives it to, or sells it. But a doctor doesn't need to know the ingredients of, the shots. Everybody's red-pilled now. It's not bad that people know what's going on. I don't know what this is. You think I should play it? Should we see what this is? I have no idea what this is.
I will not comply. Quit trying to take me to task, cause I don't want to wear a mask or take a vaccine that could maybe make me die. They got no scientific evidence to back that crap up. All they do is feed us lie after lie. That's why I will not comply.
All right, well, there you go. All right, so we covered the Grisham story out of New Mexico. She's a tyrant. She's lost her mind. She should have been arrested. In fact, she should have been arrested right there in that room by the police officers sitting to her right, because they all take an oath to not only obey, the Constitution, but to defend it. And when you see someone violating another person's civil rights, that person should be arrested. And as she sat there issuing this emergency order because of the epidemic of gun violence, well, let me explain what I mean by she was violating rights. Her argument was people don't feel safe out there because of gun violence. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to put restrictions on open and concealed carry. So the law-abiding citizens who got their permits and follow these laws, they can't carry concealed or open. And somehow or another, that's supposed to cure gun violence that's usually done by criminals. By far, it's done by criminals, people who are not obeying the law. Okay, so she said it was to make everybody feel safe. Her argument was this emergency order is to make everybody feel safe. Those people who don't feel safe, that right, again, the safety as a right, that right is more important than this person's right over here. Here's why that doesn't work. Let's say I live in Albuquerque or New Mexico, and I have a reason to go into Albuquerque. And because it's a violent place, I'm always nervous to go in to the city. So I always carry, and I carry openly so that anybody around me can see that I'm carrying. And that makes me feel safe. So her order to restrict me from doing that has just made me feel unsafe. Her whole purpose was to make everybody feel safe. She wanted to cure the fact that people felt unsafe. But she obviously didn't do that. Her logic is extremely flawed. In fact, all she has ended up doing was setting up a situation where if I go into Albuquerque and I don't carry because I don't want her thugs to come up to me and protect me and serve me to death or beat me down because I'm not obeying some arbitrary proclamation, and I don't carry, and I go into Albuquerque and I feel unsafe, my civil rights have been damaged. And there must be a remedy for a damage in the law. And that's not just a theory on my part. That's the way it works. There are people already going into Albuquerque and open and carrying, hoping that somebody will give them a citation or arrest them for doing it, because if they did that, that would be a direct violation of that person's civil rights, their constitutional rights. And that person, and I think in New Mexico, a law that Grisham herself signed, a bill that Grisham herself signed into law, says that anybody whose civil rights have been violated, someone who's been damaged by another for something like that, the remedy is $2 million. She put that in. She signed that into law. So isn't it just sort of poetic and beautiful that she could actually have a whole slew of people who feel damaged by what she did now coming to call the state to task to get their $2 million settlement for having their civil rights violated. They don't feel safe walking around in Albuquerque because it's a violent place. The governor took away their ability to do self-defense. They took away their, if we're talking about rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. She took away their inalienable right of life, which means to feel secure in your person. You don't have to worry about if you're carrying your weapon. You don't have to worry about somebody arresting you for that. To be secure in your person. Liberty, to be free to as long as you're not infringing on anyone else's rights, you can carry your weapon for sure. Liberty. And then pursuit of happiness. I can't be happy in Albuquerque because of this proclamation she made, so my civil rights have been violated. Not my inalienable civil rights, right? She said in her meeting the other day, we got to talk about all these constitutional rights because they're not meant to be absolute. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are absolute. Those are founded on eternal, immutable, universal principles. When you're born into this world, you have the right to that. That's what our Constitution doesn't provide, it just secures. You see, the Constitution doesn't give anybody rights. It's just there to enumerate what your human rights are when you're born, self-evident. It's self-evident what your human rights are when you're born into the world. And all that comes from biblical principles. The foundation of the moral law emanates from God. Moral law cannot emanate from the creation, like natural law, right? That's a concept, but it all emanates from God. Moral law cannot emanate from the creation or a creature, a human being. All we can do is identify the self-evident natural law or moral law of God that exists. No one should harm another person. No one should infringe on someone else's universal, absolute, inalienable rights. But she did, so she might have a problem. And it's already been there has been a restraining order let me, for those of you who might not know what's going on here, Grisham said that she did an executive order last Friday. She wanted that to serve as a cooling off period for all the gun violence that was going on in Albuquerque. And for law enforcement to address the problem areas surrounding the state's high rate of gun crime after a string of fatal shootings. And there was an 11-year-old boy that got caught in the crossfire of a road rage incident. But U.S. District Judge David Urias granted a temporary restraining order that blocks enforcement of her order. Urias said the proclamation defies recent Supreme Court rulings such as last year's New York Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decision and violated Second Amendment rights for self-defense. Your right to defend yourself is absolute. Sheriff, there's also some sheriffs that have stood up and they said they're not going to enforce this, and that sounds good. It sounds good. This one sheriff said, my constituents have reached out to me in droves, emailing and texting me saying this is insane, it's horrifying, it's unconstitutional. Well, that was Republican State Representative John Block of Alamogordo. He said that. But when you've got a sheriff or law enforcement, a police chief or something like that saying, I'm not going to enforce this, that's good, but you should be arresting. You should be arresting the governor. So this is in on James Freeman. This is right. This is his beat right here. This is right in his wheelhouse. So he said, Torrance County, New Mexico Sheriff David Frazee recently made this comment saying he won't enforce unlawful orders. So let's read Frazee's statement. He says, rest assured, Sheriff Wood and I are on the same page. The governor's order only applies to Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque jurisdiction only. So I didn't feel the need to make a comment. But should she expand her order to include Torrance County jurisdiction, I will not violate my oath, nor will I order my deputies to do so. You hear that? They're telling you they're not going to violate their oath by enforcing this arbitrary proclamation. That's good, but that's not all they're supposed to do. He says, I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I believe that what our country needs is more good people with guns and less bad people with guns. I don't like that. I don't like that statement. Who are the good people and who are the bad people? Are the good people the people like me, and the bad people the people not like me? That doesn't really say anything, right? There are no good people when you come down to it, right? If you're talking about universal, immutable principles, there are no good people. We do good things, but we all have fallen sin nature, and put under pressure, we will do ugly things. Anyway, it says taking legal firearms away from good people will in no way make us safer. All right, that's right. The criminals don't follow the laws, and it's ridiculous to take guns away from law-abiding citizens and residents. So we are left defenseless against the criminals, and I won't be a part of that. He said we won't be left defenseless against the criminals. But the governor is a criminal. She's committed a crime. So I like what James Freeman says here. So David Frazee has done this before. He's said something and then done the opposite of what he said. Actions speak louder than words. And we already know that when it comes time to act, you lack the necessary courage. We all know who you are and what you will do. Let's see what else he's got here. I have more respect for Governor Grisham than I do for Sheriff David Frazee, because at least she's honest about the fact that she is tyrant trash. Interesting. So here's the federal court. James Freeman went there, and he was there for when the restraining order was enacted. Here you go. Let's see.
For 14 days.
Oh, they actually extended it.
Okay, what's the date of the next hearing? Do you know?
They're figuring that out. Oh, October 3rd.
October 3rd. Okay.
So the TRO was extended all the way until then, which is awesome.
So it was going to be 14 days. They were going to hear the case on the 17th. The governor's counsel couldn't make it to that hearing, and so they extended it to when the governor's council can make it. So
Yeah, that's how.
so the restraining order has been granted.
So what have you been up to, man?
People are just now leaving the courtroom. There were I believe 6, maybe 7 cases filed.
7 cases filed.
One of them was my own that was filed by Zach Cook and Blair Dunn yesterday. Zach Cook, one of my attorneys, headed over that way. Zach Cook, Blair Dunn, and CJ Grisham were working on my case together. And
all right, so there you go. That's live from the courthouse. What was that? That was today. That was the restraining order was today. All right, and then Freeman went to Albuquerque and open carried. He took he mounted up and went in there with his weapon showing. He doesn't normally do that, but he goes there to create the opportunity to talk to these officers. This is very interesting here.
Freeman, out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, out at the state fair where the state police are at, and I'm headed over to talk to him about the governor's order outlawing the carry of firearms.
There you go. So that's just to show you that he is in fact carrying. So he goes out onto the street and has a word. He asks these police officers, "Are you going to enforce this? Are you going to cite me?" And remember, if somebody cites you for this or arrests you for this, man, do you have a lawsuit. So there are a lot of people aware of that. There's a lot of opportunists also trying to take advantage of this. But James Freeman goes there to make a point. He goes there to hold these people accountable for what they said they would do, because if they're sworn to take the oath, there's one part of that oath that says you'll obey the law, and the other one, it says you'll defend it. You won't let other people harm or damage other people.
Good, how are you?
Been doing?
Good, good. I just wanted to come out here and check and see if everything's all right. See what you guys are up to. I'm Sergeant King with State Police.
How you doing, Sergeant King? I'm James. Hey.
Adam Sandoval.
Adam Sandoval?
Stephen King. Nice to meet
Stephen
you.
King, good to meet you. Have I met you before? Or just a common name, maybe?
Probably.
Sandoval?
I don't know. I've never met another one. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
What can I help you with, guys?
Oh, we were just wondering if you guys were going to be enforcing the governor's order.
Sir, we are civil order.
What's that?
We are ordered to enforce the civil order. As of right now, I see your camera. We are ordered to enforce the civil order.
We are ordered to enforce the civil order.
As of right now.
As of right now.
Carrying. We're just going to educate you about it right now.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice, isn't it? They've come over to educate James. They've come over. They see that he's out there just being a man, enjoying his constitutional right, and they want to come educate him on what? There's nothing that they can educate him with. They want to educate him on tyranny. Let's listen to what they say here. I'm getting fired up again.
And we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I can't comment.
Can we go over here? The noise,
Yeah,
the road noise is pretty loud.
We can't comment too much about it. I would reach out to our PIO, our public information officer, to ask questions about this.
Okay.
We're not exactly authorized to give interviews.
No, I wasn't looking for an interview. I was just going to see if you'd uphold your oath or obey the governor, one way or the other.
How about that? Are you going to uphold your oath, or are you going to obey the governor, who is a criminal right now? Which one? What a position. See, this is really what's awful about what the governor did, about her arrogance. She put these men who are there to make her people feel safe, she put them in a really difficult position. That's what criminals do.
Yeah, so we do uphold our oath, and
the directives that we get from our supervisors and stuff, we do follow our directives as well. So
Even if they violate your oath?
we just follow our directives. So
Fair enough.
Oh, did you hear that? Even if it violates the Constitution, even because your oath is to the Constitution, he's literally standing there saying, "Look, we just following orders. We're just following the orders of our superiors." Does that sound familiar at all? That was the argument. That was the argument that the Nazi officers made at the Nuremberg trials when they were asked, why did you carry out these obviously abominable orders? I was just following my orders. But it's morally reprehensible. It's wrong. It's evil. I was just following my orders. Isn't that fascinating? Because that's, sadly, this young man isn't very well educated on the law or transcendent, immutable, moral law of God. He doesn't seem to understand what he's actually saying.
Our directives as well. So
Even if they violate your oath?
we just follow our directives. So
Fair enough. I get that, man. My grandfather was a Nazi, so I get that, bro. I totally, yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Well, let me know. I mean, it's you got to put food on your family's table, and I understand that sometimes you got to take food off of other people's table to feed your family. You know what I mean?
That's pretty much the extent on where we can answer, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do like press interviews or interviews and stuff like that. I know you're probably live streaming, you have like your group and stuff, but we do have a public information officer that's his whole job that you guys can reach out to. Now.
Don't feel bad for these guys. I'm tempted to. When I see people struggling and they're under pressure and they know that they know they're wrong, but I start to feel like I feel bad for the guy. Don't feel bad for these guys. Don't feel bad for these men. Nobody forced them to go do this job. And this is one of the most important jobs in our country, right? It's the people who are there to serve and protect the people, to make sure, right? What is the duty of the civil authorities, the civil magistrate and his enforcers? They're there to punish the wicked, hold the wicked accountable, punish them, arrest them, get them out of the way, get them off the street. And they're there to preserve the good, protect the good. That's their duty. What the governor has done is evil. It's wrong. It's on the other side. There is a line. And on one side is good and on one side is evil. Now there might be some very thin area there where we do interpretation, but not in this case. She has thumbed her nose at the Constitution of 1788, the original Constitution founded on immutable principles, law of God, and she has decided to go her own way, like a dictator, like a tyrant. And these men today are making the choice. I mean, they're not citing him, right? They're not citing him. But they said, you'll hear him say in a minute, we're not going to cite you yet. I need to hurry and get off.
Answer all your questions.
And is the public information officer the one who will be handing out citations, or will that be you?
He's the one that does all the interviews and answers all you guys.
Oh, I'm just looking for the people who are handing out citations.
I'll tell you right now, so I'm not handing out a citation right now.
Okay.
That's what I can say. But like I said, everything else you can go through our public information.
You're not going to kick my door down later with a SWAT team to give me a citation, are you?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
You promise?
Oh, I promise.
Because I mean, that would suck for you to just come and terrorize my entire family.
Sir, I see where this is going, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do right now. No, I'm not going to cite you.
Okay.
I'm going to inform you that you are, based on the governor's order, that you are violating the public health order, and then I'm going to walk away. Unless you have a crime to commit, or unless you have a crime to report, or you're committing a crime, which is not.
No, he doesn't have a crime to commit today. It's only those guys. It's only those men in the costumes who are committing the crimes today. What crime are they committing? They're allowing someone in a superior position of authority to violate the civil rights of everybody else out here. And yeah, it's a tough position for them to be in. But they should have thought about that. They should have considered the fact that you're going to, what if my superior gives me an order that's immoral? What if the governor gives me an order that's immoral? What will I do in my job? What will I do? Well, it's good at least that they're not going to cite people, but he's not really committed to that, is he? They're not citing people today because that's what his superior told him. Don't cite people today. We'll give them a few days to get used to the new world. Then we'll start citing them. Then we'll start kicking their doors down. Then we'll start. And you tell me, what has that solved? What has it solved? Has it solved the gun violence problem in Albuquerque? No, it's just created more violence. Now you'll have the people in costumes violently attacking law-abiding citizens. Top 3 reasons that our country is so divided today. The idea of that living constitution, it comes out of the late teens, early 20s with Woodrow Wilson. Wilsonian progressivism, the idea that the Constitution is a living document and we can change it as we go, right? As if morality can evolve. No. Everybody knows that it's wrong to murder. It's wrong to use the worst example we can think of. It's wrong to torture babies for fun. That's when what's the worst thing you can think of? Everybody knows that's immoral. That will never evolve into good. So the top 3 reasons America is so divided. The idea of a living constitution or evolving morality. Second, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which set up this position here where Governor Grisham can now, remember, access those special powers and invoke special whatever. It's made up. But there are enough people that believe in it as if it's real, including these gentlemen here in the costumes, that people will obey it. Even when it's wrong, they'll obey it. And that's what happened. That's what came out of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. With all the good that was done that came out of that, there were good results. But when you give a tyrant that kind of power to declare emergencies, remember, that's all it was. We need some special powers to go in and shut down segregation and shut down racial discrimination. I don't know if you watched any NFL games last Sunday, but you see it written behind the end zones. End racism. It's still happening. This still happening. What did the Civil Rights Act of 1964 accomplish if we still are trying to stamp it out? It's a sin. You're not going to stamp out sin in the world. That's not going to happen until the Lord Jesus Christ returns and sets up his kingdom. So this is what I mean. That's number 1, the living constitution, moving us away from transcendent, immutable principles, the law of God. Civil Rights Act of 1964 comes naturally behind that. And then a third wave was, it's the Barack Obama wave. Barack Obama is the one who said we've got to move away from this idea of absolute morality, of transcendent principles. So to turn away from God and immutable universal principles. And that's why Barack Obama, he is the shadow government today. Joe Biden is standing there as the symbol of the president. But it's Obama, it's this shadowy group of tyrants. That's why we are where we are. And so to finish it up tonight, what are the 3 weapons of our warfare to win this war, to defeat the demonic and to win this civil war that we're already in? This war that we're in, or the war that's coming, is not going to be a shooting war. This is a spiritual war. 3 weapons, our 3 weapons. The gospel The gospel is the power unto salvation for those who believe, to the Jew first and also the Greek. That means it's available to everybody. We proclaim it, proclaiming the gospel. Through doing that, the Lord uses us, and preaching the gospel to people, that is the power. And so the gospel is first. Secondly, it's prayer. Individual, private prayer, and specifically corporate prayer. If we want this kind of thing to stop, if we want to have our nation back, if we want it to revert back to transcendent, immutable principles, the law of God, if we are obedient and faithful to the gospel and corporate prayer, if we pray for revival in our nation, the Lord is faithful to respond. The Lord is faithful to do that. Right? I mean, you don't believe that it's all just going to that it's all going to just fall apart, tomorrow, do you? Whether premillennialist or postmillennial, it doesn't matter. What do you think your duty is? Your duty is to obey God, obey the greatest commandments, the two. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second, love your neighbor as yourself. And to do that, we have to pray for these corrupt officials. We have to pray for them. Not because we think they deserve it. We don't deserve God's blessing. We have to bless these people. That's what God has asked us to do. And it comes down to this principle. If you can't find it in yourself to bless these corrupt officials, bless those who persecute you, bless those who curse you. Our command is to bless those people. It's hard. I understand. It's hard. But if you can't find it in yourself to do that, then God's blessing isn't resting on you. Because God's blessing doesn't rest where there's contradiction. That's why Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. I don't know what God's going to do with this nation, but I know what my command is. And it's to bless these people, these corrupt officials, by praying for them. All right, so there's three weapons of our warfare to win this spiritual war. The gospel and prayer. We're not casting out demons. There's none of that, because that's what the gospel's for. Always understand, the people who are out there casting out demons left and right, why would you cast a demon out of a person? And you can't. Maybe they can. I'm not saying they can't cast a demon, but why would you do that if that person isn't filled with the Holy Spirit? You can't fill the person with the Holy Spirit. They can't just sit there and request to be filled with the Holy Spirit. God does that. So if that person's not filled with the Holy Spirit and you go casting out demons, the Bible tells us, in fact, Jesus tells us specifically that if you do that, 7 more will come in behind it, and that person will be worse off than they were before. So our answer is not casting out demons and going and taking on territorial demonic forces. No, it's the gospel, because the gospel is what runs demons out. When we preach the gospel, the Lord uses that for that. Okay, so the gospel and prayer. And number 3, Ephesians 5:11, expose darkness. That one comes last. The gospel, prayer, corporate prayer. Bless these corrupt leaders, these tyrants. Bless them, because that's what the Lord said. It doesn't matter if it feels right to you. It is right. We don't do it because it feels right. We do it because it is right. And exposing darkness, Ephesians 5:11. And that's something that we try to do here quite a bit. Truth without unity leads to pride, and unity without truth is confusion. So we have to guard against both of those. We don't want to fall into those patterns. Most people on both sides of this feel themselves, they perceive themselves as being noble crusaders for a great cause. I'm sure that these men here in the costumes here today, they believe somehow they're noble crusaders for a great cause. They're not. They're wrong here. And they need to be, and that's, James is there to tell them that. What they need in here is they need a Christian worldview. They need a Christian to encounter them here and then come away from this encounter and bless them. Here's what I want to leave you with. I want to leave you with what Daniel Apologetics, I saw his post today. Where he had an encounter in Slovakia. So he's a foreigner there. And he's a white guy, so he experiences racism there. So it's in his community. Here we go. If you don't know Daniel Apologetics, I encourage you to go check out his channel. Yeah, here we go. This is perfect. I saw this earlier today, and what am I doing here? There we go. All right. Daniel says, after 2 hard weeks on all fronts, when today's bus driver was racist to me, he says, I'm a foreigner, and very rude to me, this 6'3" Viking in me was ready to shout and set him straight when we arrived at the end station. It was only Jesus could turn that instead into dropping him a few euros for a coffee and to tell him that Jesus loves you and walk away praying for him. Bless him. Bless him. Don't even hesitate. When they persecute you, bless them immediately. He says, this is one of those things that amazes me again and again when giving in to the Holy Spirit instead of the flesh, which I too will fall and do, as we all will from time to time. Our goal in sanctification is to do that less and less. Lord willing, we stop doing it altogether. I love Jesus. God incarnate has not only said by words, but also set an actual example to follow in the Son, that in my flesh, it often feels just so wrong, but in my soul, it feels right. See, that's why you can't trust your instincts, not always. You especially can't trust your instincts in a moment where there's high emotion or you feel slighted like this. So it's a great point that Daniel makes. This is why you can't trust your instinct, right? You want to walk in obedience to Christ's second greatest commandment. Love your neighbor as yourself. He doesn't say love your neighbor as yourself when he's not persecuting you, or you don't have to love your neighbor as yourself when he's being an ass. It doesn't say that. We know they're wrong. We know these corrupt officials are wrong. We also know that God is sovereign and that God turns the hearts of rulers wherever he pleases. That's Proverbs 21:1. We also know, direct from Jesus, that we're never more like the Lord than when we're being hated, when we're being persecuted, when we're being reviled. We're never more like Jesus when we return that with love. But it's even more serious than that. If we can't find it in ourselves to bless those who mistreat us and curse us, then the Lord's blessing is not resting on us. We're outside of the Lord's blessing. You don't want to be there. The first sign that the Lord's blessing is not with you is when you do not bless those when we don't bless those who treat us as enemies. That's the first sign that the Lord's blessing is not with us. And vice versa. As Daniel demonstrated, the surest sign that the Lord's blessing is with you is when you bless your enemies just like this. So it doesn't matter whether we think that that person deserves God's blessing or not. In fact, we already know that we don't deserve God's blessing. Romans 3, 10 through 18. But even if it doesn't feel right, in obedience, we bless them and we leave the rest up to our Father. Not because it feels right, but because it is right. So a big thanks to Daniel for putting that out. That was just a great opportunity for just a message about who we are and what our duty is here. May the Lord's blessing continue to rest upon you, Daniel. And for all of you out there, may the Lord's blessing continue to rest on you. And if you feel that it's not, here is the way. There is a better way. There's a better way, and we should walk in it. Remember what we were talking about, the principles about praying for those who persecute you the other night. If you remember James the just, the brother of Jesus, when he was killed, when he was thrown off the temple and crushed, laying on the ground, and then they stoned him. He blessed those enemies. And it was Stephen. When Stephen was stoned to death, he asked the Lord in that moment to bless these men. Don't charge this sin to them. Bless these men who are killing me right now. What was so interesting about that was one of those men who was there. I don't know that if it doesn't matter, but I don't know if Saul was stoning, but I think what he was doing, he was holding the clothes and the belongings for those who were stoning him. So he was taking part in it. And as Stephen was dying, he was praying for those men, for the Lord to bless those men. And that's in Acts. And so I think it's Acts chapter 7. And then in Acts chapter 9, it's like 2 chapters later, not even 2 chapters later, that Saul of Tarsus is converted and becomes Paul the Apostle. And so you see that the prayer of a faithful man avails much. And you see this example over and over. Paul and Silas praying from the prison in Philippi. Who were they praying for? They were praying for the jailer, the guy that was holding them there. That jailer came to Christ right there that evening. Pray for those who persecute us. They're corrupt. It's not easy. I know we don't want to, but our goal in sanctification is to get to the point where we do want to grow in Christ and to grow and become more spiritually mature so that when we are being persecuted and hated on, that we return it with a blessing. And then we know that the blessing of the Lord is resting on us. We don't have to think, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to question it or doubt. Okay, I'm about 40 minutes over here, so I'm going to end it right there. I want to say thank you to you guys for sticking in here with me tonight. I want to remind you before we get out of here today to download the Armor of Truth mobile app if you would, please. But also, would you please take a moment to like this video? Just click that thumbs up if you're in here with us right now. We got 47 likes, but we got 65 people in the chat right now. So let's, if you don't mind, it's free. It doesn't cost anything, and it's a big help. It really does help. We want to try, if we can. We don't want to make excuses about how we're being suppressed on the platform. Maybe we are. Probably we are. But remember, God is sovereign. He can protect us. He can cause us to grow and to do more of His work. Let's think of it. Let's think of it that way. I like how when, as soon as I said that, we lost a couple viewers. But that's cool. So if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button. It really does help us. Share the video somewhere. I started looking at analytics the other day for that, and I could tell when the video gets shared, and I could tell that people were sharing the video. We've had people join our Substack lately. Please join our Go to our Substack and join that. All the links to do these things are in the description below this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel. It's just really difficult for us to get subscribers because it's so hard. The algorithm doesn't seem to push our videos out to a lot of people. But if you'll engage with the video, that will help us. And over time, it'll get better. And it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. It also doesn't cost you anything to download the Armor of Truth mobile app. Do that today. It's 100% free. That's really important because that's where we can do this work off this platform. We can do any kind of message we want to do there. Over there, you're going to get, if you get the Armor of Truth mobile app, you'll get live notifications whenever we go live and wherever we go live. Some of you might notice that sometimes the video for a live show will show up on YouTube, and then it might be hours before the show starts. It happens sometimes, but if you have that Armor of Truth mobile app, you'll get a notification. If you set up notifications, you'll get a notification from us when we go live, and if we happen to go live somewhere else on someone else's channel or on another platform, or when we release new articles like we did day before yesterday, you'll get notifications for all of that. There's also a new Tracking Dystopia podcast that we're going to be doing where we can go into a lot more depth on these stories. And a Bible study podcast. Right now we're in the book of James. I'm looking forward to catching that up soon. And if you can support Armor of Truth financially, please, every donation matters. It doesn't matter if it's $1. It's really helpful and it's encouraging to see. So every gift or donation makes a difference. If you just want to give a gift and you're not interested in or you don't need a receipt or anything like that, you can do that through Cash App, or you can do it on Patreon. We have those available to you. Like if you just wanted to give Summer and I a personal gift, you didn't want to make a donation directly to Armor of Truth, that's available too. You can do that as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay to do as well. So if you can support us financially, it helps out a lot. And if you can set up a recurring donation for any amount you can do that on our website. You can do that on the mobile app Give tab. That helps us to plan for the future. Helps us to know if we're going to be here in 2024. It's up in the air right now. We're not sure, but we're going to keep going. So, what are you waiting for? Please download that Armor of Truth mobile app today. Just downloading that app and allowing us to send you notifications. We're not going to blow your phone up, but whenever we produce something new and we go live somewhere, we'll send you a notification, and we want to make it a good experience for you. Did you know that there is an audio Bible there? There is there's also we have like, I think, at least half a dozen Bible versions there that you can read from King James all the way up through the modern translations. You can read it whichever one you want. We've got audio Bible, so you can listen to the Bible there as well. And we have some special videos where our brother Rob has read, I think we've got 3 books. He's also done Galatians, which I haven't posted yet. Our brother Rob, he's in Australia, so there are videos where he's read the book of 1 John. I think it's 1 John. He's read Ephesians all the way through. So check that out. And so if you're new here and you don't know, my name is Brad, and I'm usually joined here by my lovely wife, who I miss very much today. And her name is Summer, together along with our other officer in this work, who remains anonymous. We are Armor of Truth. We're very blessed and fortunate to be here to serve you. And we are seeking a worldview revolution through God's revelation. This is the part where Summer says faith is resistance. I'm leaving that for her when she gets back. All right, my friends. Thanks for being here with us tonight. God bless you, and we'll see you. We'll see you next time.
The hammer comes down and beats you over the head for the rest of your life with a big national security stick. And so that people learn to duck their head and not speak up, because Bad idea now.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Citizens are advised to take the following steps.
Find us, armoroftruth.net.
In the age of technocracy, scientism, and pop atheism,
faith is resistance.
Nietzsche, of course, announced the death of God and called for the birth of the Übermensch, the Superman, who would take humanity to new heights and to create a new world order.
Find us at the Armor of Truth YouTube channel.
This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test.